European leaders including Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron will meet Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday in a show of support hosted by the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, as the U.S. pushes for a swift end to the war in Ukraine. The British Prime Minister, French President, and the heads of NATO and the EU, who have criticized previous U.S. proposals to end the Russian invasion as too favorable to Moscow, are set to convene with Zelensky on Monday evening at Merz's offices in central Berlin. A German government spokesperson said the U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who were holding a second round of peace talks with Zelensky in the German capital on Monday, had also been invited to the working dinner. Witkoff said in a social media post, "A lot of progress was made," after he and Kushner met Zelensky for 5.5 hours at Merz's chancellery on Sunday, without disclosing details. A picture released by Merz's team showed him sitting beside Zelensky on Sunday in a gesture of solidarity across the table from Witkoff and Kushner, but the chancellor did not join their talks. Trump has appeared increasingly impatient to bring about an end to 4 years of fighting, which he had first sought by Thanksgiving at the end of November. Zelensky has said the U.S. leader is targeting Christmas as a deadline for a full understanding on a peace plan. The search for viable terms for an end to the war has run into major obstacles, including a dispute over control of Ukraine's eastern Donbas region, which is occupied mostly by Russian forces. Zelensky on Sunday expressed readiness to drop his country's bid to join NATO if the U.S. and other Western nations gave Kyiv legally binding security guarantees similar to those offered to alliance members. Today, bilateral security guarantees between Ukraine and the U.S., Article 5-like guarantees for us from the U.S., and security guarantees from European colleagues, as well as other countries, Canada, Japan, are an opportunity to prevent another Russian invasion, Zelensky said in answer to questions from reporters in a WhatsApp chat. He also said he hoped Washington would accept freezing the front line where it was, rather than Ukraine ceding the entire Donbas region, which comprises Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts, calling it the fairest possible option. Vladimir Putin has described Ukraine's drive to join NATO as a major threat to Moscow's security and a reason for launching the full-scale invasion in February 2022. Naturally, this issue is one of the cornerstones, and of course it is subject to special discussion, the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, told reporters on Monday, adding that Moscow expected a U.S. briefing on the Berlin discussions when they were over. European leaders stressed that the outcome of the talks on Ukraine would affect their own country's security for decades to come. Merz, who has spearheaded European efforts to support Ukraine alongside Macron and Starmer, warned at the weekend that the decades of the Pax Americana are largely over for us in Europe and for us in Germany as well. Pax Americana refers to reliance on the U.S. military and diplomacy to maintain relative peace and security around the globe. Merz said the Russian president's goal was a fundamental change to the borders in Europe, the restoration of the old Soviet Union within its borders. If Ukraine falls, he won't stop, Merz told a conference of fellow conservatives in Munich. Russia has denied it intends to attack NATO members. In a post on X on Sunday, Macron vowed that France is and will remain at Ukraine's side,